Welcome back to Crossable TCG. My name is Logan, and today we're going to again be talking about the new Broly leader coming out of that Broly pack this weekend. Really fantastic leader that breathes a ton of life into some older archetypes that we've seen in this game. Specifically for today, we're going to be talking about Broly Veggies. Now, this is an archetype that has seen a ton of play in the Set 3 and Tournament of Power formats. However, and again, recently in the Miraculous Revival format with Shenron Veggies. However, with this new leader coming out, we have a ton of utility. We have the access, because of his effect, to awaken insanely quickly, to turn on our Unwavering Solidarity Shugesh by turn 2, and be incredibly aggressive, very reminiscent of the Mecha Veggie format. Jumping straight into what this leader does, starting out on the front side, is when this card attacks, you may choose one card in your life, add it to your hand, draw a card. So on the front side, he self-awakens, draws a card, and then when your life is 4 or less, choose 2 of your energy, switch them to active mode, and flip this card over. So really fantastic. It allows you to untap energy mid-turn while still drawing a ton of cards and self-awakening, which is really what the Shugesh decks want to do, because they want to have access to Shugesh as early as possible. And then on the backside, he becomes Broly the Awakened Threat. When this card attacks, draw one card, activate main, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, switch it to rest mode, so if they have any kind of pesky blockers. And then another one of his abilities, one of his better abilities that we're not taking a ton of advantage of in this list specifically, is choose one card from your life, add it to your hand, and then choose one of your cards in rest mode, switch to active mode. So this gives you any amount of utility that you want. You can restand your hidden awakening Kales, you can restand your sister attack Kales. It allows you to untap energy if you want to extend your plays even farther. I think a lot in this deck you'll be using that effect to untap energy either for defense or to give you a little bit more aggression during your turn. Now, continuing on into the main deck, we're starting off with the Overwhelm cards. We have 2 copies of Trunks, Overseeing Time, or Power Overseeing Time, Overwhelm for 4 for 2 energy, Double Strike. When you play this card using Overwhelm, choose up to one of your battle cards in your warp and add it back to your hand. So this allows you to recycle any card in your deck that you might want, specifically Unwavering Solidarity Shugesh. With us playing Power Overseeing Time Trunks, it allows us to play Shugesh up to 5 times in a turn, which is just absolutely insane. Also, the fact that this guy has a double strike tag on him is very, very valuable in this strategy because there isn't a ton of double strike. We're supplementing that a little bit by playing Champas, which you'll see later in the list. But overall, very strong card. Double strike, which you can restand with your Broly lead if you have to, because you need that double strike for game, which is really good. Continuing on, we're playing 1 copy of Mira Creator Absorb. He synergizes very well with this Broly lead because when this card attacks, this card gains 5k power for each card in your warp. So if you swing the first time, he goes up to like 100 plus k, and on the second swing, if you restand him with your Broly lead effect, he can be swinging for up to 300k plus power, which is absolutely insane. If your opponent doesn't have that negate to stop this guy, and you have the Champa in hand, you'll basically be able to force games down. Continuing on into the green cards that we play, we're playing a little bit of a trimmed down green line, and that's specifically because this deck can awaken so incredibly fast that you can turn on your Shugesh relatively reliably by turns 2, turns 3. So hitting that optimal green curve of 2 green by turn 2 is not necessarily the most important, but we still want to achieve that. And to that end, we're playing 4 copies of Trunks Bridge to the Future. When you play this card, look at the top 2 of your deck, choose one Saiyan among them, add them to your hand, then place the rest of the cards in your drop. So this acts as good green energy, as well as searching out our Saiyan Teamwork Kabbas, which we want to see in the game as early as possible. And really, this is the best card that will facilitate it because it's a really solid turn 1 play, or it's green energy later down the line. Continuing on, we have the backbone of the deck, the Saiyan Teamwork Kabba. Permanent when this card is in play. In your battle area, decrease the energy cost, specified green cost of Khalifa and Kale in your hand by 1. So what this allows you to do is reduce all the cost of all of your veggie cards in your hand. And then also, when you play this card, look at the top 10 cards of your deck and choose one Khalifa or Kale, add it to your hand. If the chosen card was Khalifa, you can play it instead. And so this allows you to chain into some of your other cards, specifically this bold Super Saiyan 2 Khalifa. When this card is played, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to one Universe 6 with 1500 power among them, and play it. So basically, you get to play your Saiyan Teamwork Kabba either for 2 or for free with your Unwavering Solidarity Shugesh. Go into a 4-drop. That 4-drop's effects is going to trigger, and it's going to summon one of these 9 targets if it does hit, or 10 targets, I'm sorry. which is very strong. It allows you to essentially cheat out 8 energy worth of cards, 8 to 9 energy worth of cards for only 2 energy or free if you're using Shugesh. Continuing on with the green line, we have 4 copies of Unstoppable Ambition, Super Saiyan Caulifla. Permanent, your battle cards cannot be KO'd by your own skills. Your opponent's your battle cards cannot be placed in your drop by your owner's skills. Really, this is there to allow you to play Hidden Awakening Kale, which is the next card we'll talk about, without having to sacrifice any of your own cards. And then also, when you play this card, choose 1 card from your life, add it to your hand. Another amazing awakening tool that allows you to turn on your Shugesh very early in the game. A lot of these green cards are in here. You're not necessarily going to play them as much as you're going to play the red veggies, because they're really in here to allow you to be able to fuel your Kabbas early game, as well as putting on a little bit of free pressure. Later in the game, because you're awakening so quickly, Caulifla loses a lot of her utility, because she does make you take that life when you put her into play. So sometimes she's a little bit awkward to play. And with that, we move on to Hidden Awakening Kale. Critical, when you play this card, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. Then choose any number of your opponent's battle cards, the energy cost of 5 or less, and KO them. When this card attacks, you have 5 or less cards in your hand, draw 1 card. This used to be by far the best card in the game. It does everything you want it to do. It applies crit pressure, it KOs cards, and it draws you cards. And with your Saiyan Teamwork Kaba, you're able to actually Shugesh this in, because Kaba will reduce the cost of this card in hand to 3 if you have a single Kaba on the board. And the best part about this whole package is that if you have 4 Kabas on the board, you can actually slap down your Hidden Awakening Kales completely for free, which is just absolutely insane. Just free 20k bodies that'll draw you cards is insane. Really, this engine was, when it first came out, was like the peak of the game. Everyone was complaining about it. It's kind of interesting seeing it fall back a little bit to the wayside, but I think we're going to see a huge resurgence of it now with this new leader. Continuing on to the rest of the red veggie package, we have 4 copies of Sister Attack Kale. This is really going to be your big workhorse of the deck, because it's when this card attacks, if another Universe 6 card is in your play, typically it's going to be this bold Super Saiyan 2 Caulifla. You're able to gain 5k power on this card and draw a card. So it allows you to put on a ton of pressure early game and allows you to draw cards every single turn. Really fantastic card. Going off of what the Kaba does, if you're able to go Kaba into Caulifla into this, essentially you're playing 1 card to summon 3 cards and to draw an additional card, which is just absolutely absurd. Allows you to put on a ton of free pressure, and really is what's going to allow you to keep drawing cards throughout the game. Also, it's a very low drop, so if you have a single Kaba on the board already, you can play this for a single red energy, which is very nice because it allows you to play very aggressively with a very low amount of energy because of the sheer amount of energy cheating that is available through Kaba and through Shugesh. Continuing on, we have 3 copies of Dauntless Kale. This was at 4. I bumped it down to make room for a couple of other defensive options that we play in this deck, but it's a free blocker that can come into play if you control a Caulifla in your battle area or leader area, which typically we will with this Kaba summoning Caulifla or summoning a Caulifla for free. Because you have Kabas on the board, it is very easy to put these free blockers down on the board, and also it's just additional hits off of your Kaba. You really don't ever want to whiff off of this guy. It feels really bad when you whiff. And now with the sheer amount of targets, you normally don't on the first couple, which is very nice. Continuing on, we have 3 copies of Implacable Super Saiyan Kaba. Permanent, this card can attack battle cards in active mode, and your opponent cannot activate counter against this card's attack. And then if your leader is a red Saiyan, he gains plus 5k for the duration of the battle, or duration of the turn. This card is really good. It's an additional hit off of this bold Super Saiyan 2 Caulifla. So not only do we have this really fantastic Sister Attack Kale, we also have this Implacable Kaba, which gives us a ton of pressure. Not only that he can attack active battle cards, but also he can guaranteed go for game at times because your opponent can't negate his attack. So if you swing with him and then give him double strike and then pump him super high with like super combos or anything else, then you're able to actually force that damage through, which is really nice to have a tool like that in this very aggressive deck. Having things that can't be countered is always a fantastic trait. Continuing on into the last of the red cards, we have 2 copies of Furthering Destruction Champa. When you combo this card, it gains double strike for the rest of the turn. So this card is just really fantastic addition to this deck because this deck puts out a ton of free pressure very quickly, and so the ability to give something double strike per game can be very important, or to fix numbers so that you can put them at say like 3 life or from 5 to 3 life easier, so you can go for other double strikes or whatever, is really fantastic. Always having Champa in a deck is probably a good decision, 1 or 2 copies at least. That way you have the ability to pressure game when your opponent might not expect it to. And as a reminder to this, never go down to 2 life if you can't help it, because it's just safe to assume that your opponent might have the Champa in hand if they have any kind of energy showing. Continuing on to the yellow package, starting off, we have 3 copies of Bardock the Progenitor. This card has a swap 2. When you play this card, choose 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. This card is in here for an additional awakening tool that you can just slap it down and it takes a card from your life to your hand. And because of the way that the swap ruling works, you can actually swap this guy back to hand for free in order to preserve your awakening tool. And then it also plays around cards like Crisis Crusher or mostly Crisis Crusher, which prevent the 1-drops from attacking, so other 1-drop Awakeners are a little weaker right now because of that. And then he's also really solid yellow energy, so you can use him to awaken and then put him down as additional yellow energy if that's all you have to charge for the turn. So really just a solid card. He's only in here at 3 because he can recycle himself, but he is important to see early on because if you're on turn 2, he allows you to, instead of going for a Saiyan Team Merkaba, you can go green-yellow, play this guy, green-yellow, play this card down, and then take a life, and then use your leader effect to awaken, because if you're going second, your leader swings twice, takes 2 life. Turn 1, Bardock, take a life. Turn 2, Bardock, take a life again. So by that point, you can then Shugesh out your Kaba instead of hard casting Kaba, which honestly is a little bit better because it leaves your energy up for other plays or other options that you have in the turn. Continuing on, we just have some good cards in here. Playing 3 copies of Cold Bloodlust because this Broly leader is actually a Frieza army leader, which is fantastic because this card allows you to negate any card that would come into play. Really just a fantastic card. Not a lot of people have had to play around. At the upcoming weekends, I have a feeling people are going to see a lot of decks similar to this, so you might and are going to be very wary of this because I know a lot of people have been testing not just this variant, but other variants of this Broly, so they might be coming ready with their minus Killy zones or their Chronoas to stop Shugesh. However, they're still powerful enough cards where if your opponents don't see those cards, they're just going to get blown out by you, and the sheer amount of advantage. Next, moving on, we play 3 copies of Time Magic. Counterattack when your leader card is yellow, negate the attack and choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in the rest mode, ignoring barrier. Can't switch to active mode until the rest of the turn. Then it has a Sparking 5 where you can take a life instead of paying the energy cost. Now that is really good because this deck lacks a little bit in answers to like the Shenron decks, so this allows you to tap down permanently their big cards that might have multiple attacks, or if you're against other Broly matchups, if they use their Broly effect on like say a Mirror Creator on the first swing, you can Time Magic it, force it to stay down, that way you don't have to actually worry about another big swing coming at you. And then this, coupled with the utility of popping cards off of Shugesh, allows you to play a large amount of defense in the short amount of turns that you're going to be playing, because typically this deck's curve fills out between turns 2 and 4, so if you're playing against a very aggressive Shenron deck, then this can come in very handy. Or if you're playing out into a longer game and they actually manage to drop that Gogeta 7 on you, you're able to tap that down permanently because your other answer in your deck, which is Shugesh into say Explosive, doesn't actually affect that card because it has a barrier on it. Continuing on to the main card of the deck, we have Unwavering Solidarity Shugesh. When you combo this card, if your leader card is yellow and your life is 4 or less, this card gains 10k power for the duration of the turn. Then choose up to 1 Saiyan in your hand with energy cost 3 or less and play it. This is one of the best cards in this deck. It's unfortunate that Chronoa can be played to counter this card's effect. However, if your opponent doesn't have the main board Chronoa, this can really just allow you to spam the board insanely hard because your leader draws an insane amount of cards, so you'll see this card a lot. Your Kales can draw you a ton of cards. Your Bardocks are going to let you see cards. Everything in this deck is going to let you see cards. You're going to be able to add it back with Trunks' power overseeing time to extend even farther. And it's not the craziest thing in the world if you're cycling through your deck super hard to be able to Unwavering Solidarity Shugesh 5 times in a turn, which is just absolutely insane because each Shugesh, if it's summoning a Kaba, could potentially be cheating out 8 energy worth of battle cards every single turn, which is just absurd. Honestly, this card is absolutely insane, especially in a leader that can self-awaken so quickly and allows this super hyper aggressive aggro style of play with an engine that just generates an insane amount of free cards. So fantastic card in the deck. And to complement Shugesh, we have the classic combo of Explosive Spirit Son Goku. Two of these guys. Blocker, barrier. When you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO that card. So if your opponent is to all in against you on some battle card that doesn't have barrier, you're able to Shugesh Kid Goku, blow it up, pretend like it was never there, and extend that handshake. Overall, I think this deck is very cool, very well situated, very, very aggressive because of how quickly it can awaken, how quickly it can turn on Unwavering Solidarity Shugesh. If your opponent wasn't prepared to play against a deck like this, I think that they could be very easily blown out of the water just by the fact that you'd be able to Shugesh out your entire, basically your entire deck turns 2 and 3, which is actually insane. And the fact that it has access to very solid defensive cards as well means that in other matchups, more aggressive matchups, you'll still have access to very good stuff. Like, you're still going to have access to Bloodlust against like swap decks. You're still going to have access to Shugesh against those swap decks as well to summon Explosive Goku. You have Time Magic, so if you're tapped out against a swap deck, you're still able to play defense, which is very, very important and very good for this deck. Overall, I think it's really cool. I wanted to get this out to you guys as quickly as I could. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.
Hey, welcome to the end card, and thank you so much for sitting through that, because honestly, I'm just doing this until I make a Digimon trading card game. So if you like Dragon Ball Super for some reason, give it a sub up above, maybe check out some of our other content, and do not forget, Digimon is way better than Pokemon. With that being said, we will see you next time.